Good afternoon. This is Nicole Zepeda, and I conducted some interviews with Coast Guardsmen who came to St. Thomas right after Hurricanes Irma and Maria, and also ones who were stationed here during the time of the hurricane and their experience dealing with the disaster management on a personal level and also within the community. The summary that I got from everybody was that the emergency management planning for the island was severely lacking. There's been two Category 5 hurricanes to hit here in the past. There was Harvey in the mid-80s, and then Marilyn in the mid-90s, and then Irma hit in 2017, and 2 weeks later, Maria hit. And they're all Category 5s that did a lot of damage and heavy devastation to the island. The mental health that exists here modernly is severely lacking in its present state, and was previously as well. The disaster management team for mental health that arrived only consisted of one psychiatrist and two teams made up of just a few people for over 50,000 people on St. Thomas, 4,000 people on St. John, and about 4,000 people on St. Croix. These three islands are separated geographically, by miles of water. St. John's a little bit closer, but St. Croix is very, very far from the island. And the devastation that occurred here, the roads are all mountainous and tiny, and the debris that was in the way got in the way of getting emergency workers out to the parts of the island where people were. The aftercare for mental health is a year later still pretty sad. There's only one psychiatrist on St. Thomas. There's only one hospital here on St. Thomas. There's no hospitals in St. John. So there really is a need for mental health, and the disaster in mental health can be felt. Something that I've noticed here on the island is that there is a lot of garbage everywhere, and it makes me wonder if there's just an apathetic attitude that's left over from these disasters. I mean, every time the island gets into a nice shape, around 10 years later, everything's just so heavily destroyed again and devastated. Garbage is free for the community. There's just large dumpsters laying around, and all you have to do is just bring your garbage. There's no fee. They're hauled off by the city to the dump. But this somehow isn't really taken advantage of. People trash the beaches. They throw trash out of their cars, diapers, soda cans, whatever they have, tires, signs. There's just large pieces in the neighborhoods where people just dump their trash instead of bringing it to the dumpsters, it's free. I mean, there's no trash service here, but you do have to bring your things to the dumpsters. So it makes me wonder if this is a side effect of the lack of mental health and the disaster that occurred here very recently, and the apathetic attitude towards keeping this area clean, if it's just going to get destroyed again. I think that could be a definite positive social change accomplished by integrating disaster mental health to this community, dealing with the thoughts and the processes of rebuilding. And only within the last few weeks has FEMA been able to start putting on all the roofs for all these houses. There's been an influx of FEMA workers and construction teams and crews coming through. Finally, the insurance money, almost a year and a half later, started coming through. So there's been a lot of rebuilding occurring, and with that, even more trash, construction trash, and just garbage everywhere. There's nowhere really to put it. We have a big landfill that looks like an island in itself. But I'm hoping that there's some kind of mental health facility that's going to be popping up, dealing with the disaster that is continuous here every 10 years. It's like a cyclical disaster management site. There is one community health center that popped up. A local lady had a practice, and she brought the community here a wellness clinic, but she strictly is attempting to focus on children. And so there are a few adults that are able to attend, but this is the only community-based, like not-for-profit and low-income available mental health resource. The other mental patients, as they call them here, they call them MPs, mental patients that wander the street, there's no help for them. People that are brought in on suicide watch are then discharged as soon as they calm down enough to not be actively hurting themselves with no aftercare. There's nowhere to aftercare them to. And with Obamacare not expanding to the territories, there's no health insurance available for these people. Cash is expected as a form of payment. There's no go see the doctor and then we do billing later. You have to pay cash up front and then you get to see the doctor. So it's still a very different place according, than what we're used to in the rest of the United States. And we'll see how public health and the disaster management preparedness takes over. I mean, every 10 years it's a cyclical hurricane epicenter. So hopefully in the next 10 years we get enough of a break from the seasons, but every year there is the danger of something happening here again, catastrophic, and I'll be here for a few years, so we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for listening.